Dunk's only gone and landed himself in the doo-doo, and me and Tom figured there would never be a better time to make a video about the legendary concept of the trial by 7. What is it on paper? What is it in reality? And who has undergone trials by 7? At least that we know of anyway. Don't forget to like, hype, and subscribe. Our Discord is here. Our Patreon is here if you fancy buying us a cup of tea, which is massively appreciated because I love tea.
No stereotype, promise.
And our Star Wars channel is here if you want to visit the galaxy far, far away and hear us ramble about that. The trial by 7 is an ancient Andal justice process, linked, shockingly, to the faith of the 7. So that's unlikely to see it in Northland. It's an extremely rare form of trial seldom seen. In fact, they've only occurred roughly once in a century. Partly because it is considered one of the most sacred forms of justice, and partly because they are a massive ball ache to organise and oversee, and thus are reserved for the specific circumstances of a most severe of crime committed, in combination with the accused being titled enough to be entitled to due process beyond this. And, you know, something like a knight attacking a member of the royal family would absolutely fit this criteria. Dunk, you sweet fool! In many ways, it serves as a dramatic escalation to a traditional trial by combat, and is, at least in the examples we're given, invoked by the accuser, wherein, instead of merely the offended and the accused and or their champion stand-ins having to duke it out, 6 more bodies are thrown into the fray on either side. Big caveat here though, and that is both accused and defended parties are not allocated or provided these extra champions and must conscript them to their cause via their own devices. And it must be, at least on the surface, be done willingly. The idea behind this is that each champion represents an aspect of the 7, and because each aspect of the 7 will have been honoured and represented, it is believed it will make these totally not made-up gods created by an atheist author care enough to intervene and deal out true justice. The trial is deemed over when either one-size champions have all been killed, the accused is killed, or the offended party yields like a little bitch, effectively signifying their retraction of the accusations. Another factor to take into consideration is that if the accused cannot bring forth 6 champions who have volunteered of their own volition, they are deemed automatically guilty and sentenced to whatever punishment is deemed worthy of the crime. Though, for things to have escalated to this level, that punishment in 99% of cases is likely going to be losing your head. So they may as well take a chance and ask your pals to help you out. That final point can segue us nicely into what a trial by 7 really is. On paper, what's supposed to be happening is each side is being presented with 2 openings for divine intervention to occur, that being the sourcing of the extra champions and the unpredictable chaos of battle that you can't get in a one-on-one duel, in which skill at arms and or your equipment choices are going to get you ahead. You know, providing you don't do anything stupid or reckless at the very last second. Oberyn. In reality, a trial by 7 is actually a means with which nobles and the faith can grossly exploit status and popularity against someone they know they can't take personally, or with a single lone champion in a regular trial by combat. Because the champions must be volunteers and must be willing to put their life on the line for the offended or accused, charisma, status, powerful social connections and networks, along with general popularity, plays a big part in this game. Those with wealth and political influence can also exploit this system, because there is, of course, massive incentive to stand for them, because in doing so, you can curry their favour. Even the protections weaved into the system to ensure quote-unquote fairness are biased and flawed and can be exploited. Only nobles and knights may demand such a trial, and the accused and those participating must also be, at the minimum, knighted. On one hand, this can be a good thing, because on paper, it prevents either side from simply motivating highly skilled sellswords to stand for them. And it should also stop either party from intimidating or coercing helpless members of the smallfolk with no skill at arms into filling the last few spots as decoys, human shields, and general sword fodder. A knight, however, has taken vows to defend themselves and the innocent. As with anything, it's not foolproof, but I get the idea. They should, in theory, have higher validity in the believability of their stating they've taken up the cause voluntarily and for just reasons. On the other hand, though, it gatekeeps the entry requirements to a very specific type of person with a very specific social standing who belongs to a very specific religion, which means I can't ask Great John to be on my team. Bollocks! This Knights Only rule can also be exploited, since providing you've got a single knight on the team, which, seeing as how both the accuser and the accused needs to be knights at the minimum to demand this trial in the first place, you're going to have, they can knight everyone else there because, as we know, any knight can make a knight, which is likely to be how an up-in-the-air exception to the rule came to be involved in one. Which, when you boil all this down, really makes it a game of high-status nobles or powerful members of the faith ganging up on someone who they strongly believe has little hope of meeting the requirements and just being automatically declared guilty. The two known instances of a trial by 7 occurring in the law both concerned accused parties of whom we can speculate with a high degree of probability the offended party was pretty confident either did not have the powerful connections or the general popularity to secure their 6 necessary champions. Let's take a little look at them, Tom. The first instance we know of a trial by 7 being demanded concerned Maegor Targaryen. You know, that king who would eventually go on to acquire the moniker, the Cruel. Clearly a godly man deserving of godly favor. The faith, understandably so, had challenged his right to rule, with the captain of the warriors' sons, basically their military arm at the time, Daemon Morrigan, standing as the figurehead of opposition. Maegor demands a trial by combat. Daemon shouts, "You've activated my trap card!" and demands a trial by 7, knowing full well the only knights who would be completely honor-bound to stand for the vessel of never-ending cruelty are all the way back on Dragonstone with the actual king and won't be coming to help anytime soon. Now, sure, Maegor is part of the royal family. He's obviously got the powerful connections to twist things to his favor, and surely he could rustle up 6 highly skilled knights to stand for him, right? Well, not quite. Hey. That rhymed, Tom. To call Maegor unpopular at the time would be doing it an injustice. He already had a bit of a reputation among the common folk and nobles for being a brutal, tyrannical, kinslaying, genocidal dick, but the sour reputation was further compounded through his taking multiple wives. The Faith were at their zenith at this point, with many formidable knights in their roster and the High Septum imbued with the influence to initiate aggressive smear campaigns. And Maegor's polygamy, which the High Septum had denounced as a grave sin, made him deeply unpopular with practically everyone, including most of his own family. Results? No one wanted to stand for the usurper, even with Balerion, you know, the largest known dragon ever, at his back. So fuck me, dude must have been charisma antimatter. It actually takes the courage of a man-at-arms Dick Bean to shame 5 more knights into begrudgingly standing for Maegor. Anyway, long story short, at the moment the trial began, Daemon knew he'd fucked up, and his plan had backfired. Maegor was a total fucking beast in combat, possibly in the GOAT tier. And despite being the last one standing on his team, wounded, with 2 enemy combatants in his way, he cut them both down to take the win. And with that, if you needed some kind of proof the Seven have fuck all to do with this ritual, the cruelest king to ever sit the Iron Throne, and potentially the most evil person in history, who resides in a universe where Gregor Clegane, Ramsay Bolton, and Euron Greyjoy also exist, being declared innocent through this means of trial is evidence bordering on the irrefutable. Small consolation, at least the Iron Throne eventually got him. The second instance is, of course, our sweet Dunk. Don't worry, we're not dropping spoilers for the future episodes. You can carry on watching. We're just covering Aerion's motivations. With our favorite tall boy being the protege of a friendless, lonely, and forgotten Hedge Knight, Aerion was obviously massively incentivized to demand this type of trial. Typically, royalty can call on the finest warriors around to champion for them. Notably, the Kingsguard, whom number 7. Coincidence there's precisely enough of these guys to fill that roster? That doesn't smell fishy at all. And even without these white-cloaked fucks, royalty hold a lot of sway in these trials since potential champions know that to back the opposition is tantamount to giving the crown a big, fat middle finger. Adding to that pre-stacked deck, no one was willing to vouch for Dunk to simply enter the tourney, apart from, of course, Baelor. So why in the Seven Hells would Aerion think 6 knights would risk their lives for him? Dunk is relying solely on eggs vouching how likable he is personally, and potentially even some crazy nutters jumping at the chance to be part of something exclusive and legendary, since there are likely fewer Trial by 7 champions etched into the history books than there are Dragon Riders. But let's avoid major spoilers and get back to the point. In both instances, it seemed the accuser invoked this type of trial because they did not expect the accused to actually make good on the champions, making it little more than a formal method of bullying, even if one of them deserved it. Know your place next time, Dunk. Jeez. Shameful. Trial by 7, TLDR.
I've got more friends than you!
And that's our take. Are you excited for Sir Duncan's upcoming trial? Who would you want by your side in your own Trial by 7? Let us know in the comments. What did we get right? What did we miss? And what did we get wrong?